the person watching this, hope this video finds you well. Welcome to Musical Exploring Music with Kalyani. Yes, it's not going to be my same old boring face today. It's going to be all these pictures and all the amazing things. Look at this picture. Know when was this clicked? 15th August 1997. Yes, the golden jubilee of Indian independence. On this occasion, Bharat Ratna late Pandit Bhimsen Joshi rendered his performance at the Central Hall of the Parliament. He was accompanied on tabla by Shri Bharat Kamath and on harmonium by Shri Sudhir Nayak. And yes, our guest today for the second part of third episode Expert Opinion is none other than Shri Sudhir Nayak. Not sure if I can concisely introduce Sudhir Dada, but let me try. Sudhir Dada was introduced to Indian music at the age of 11. But his inclination turned into passion with his talim from the legendary harmonium maestro late Pandit Tulsidas Borkar ji in 1983. Sudhir Dada's life took another great turn with his talim from legendary vocalist and composer late Pandit Jitendra Abhisheki in 1988. His association with Pandit ji for about 10 years enriched him as a musician with the knowledge of intricacies of Hindustani Raga Sangeet and nuances in the styles and approach of different gharanas and gaikis. At an early age, Sudhir Dada started accompanying stalwarts in the field of Indian classical music. Along with accompaniment, he also developed his own style of solo performances of harmonium. His musical performances are regularly featured on Indian television and commercial recordings. He has performed and continues to perform in live concerts in India and abroad. Passionate about the study and development of harmonium, he curated an exhibition of antique harmoniums from his personal collection in the International Music Festival Baja Gaja 2009. He has been invited as a visiting lecturer at the Department of Fine Arts and Music, University of Pittsburgh. He has also conducted interactive sessions for music students at universities and colleges across the world. Last but not the least, he is a founder member of Kala Coast, an organization that works for arts and artists. Let's not waste time now and get straight into the video to see what he has to share. Hi Sudhir Dada.
Hi Kalyani.
First of all, thank you so much for joining Musical for Expert Opinion.
So as I said, it's my pleasure and I really congratulate you for doing all this, being a passionate student of music and singer yourself. I'm glad that you have started this and all the best to you.
Thank you so much. Your words mean a lot to me. So sir, first thing which I would like to ask you is, a lot of times what people think is that they have passed the age of learning or they have not yet reached the age of learning. Two ways. So how do you look at people and what do you think about when people should start learning or when people should start thinking about learning?
As far as the age factor is concerned, as I always feel, for that matter, in any area of learning, I feel there is no age constraint as such. You can start learning whenever you feel like learning. First of all, the intent to learn, I feel, is most important of all, because what to learn and why to learn is something that you gradually start feeling and start discovering. But just the inherent desire to learn is what makes you a learner in the true sense. And that, I feel, has many factors. Age, of course, is one important factor, but again, I feel it should not be a constraint to learning, and it is not a constraint to learning. Yes, while saying this, I would certainly add that if there is a student of, let's say, like 5-year or 6-year-old, even he or she may want to learn something, may have a desire of learning something, but at the same time it's important for these children to first be able to sit and concentrate at some point of time, because that is very important. Whoever teaches you needs to know that his student or her student is actually grasping what he or she is imparting. So when there is a student and teacher relationship, that relationship needs to be established. So I don't mean to say that you can't learn at an early age, but as you grow, yes, you also evolve as a student, and that makes your learning all the more intense. But I feel, for example, when I teach the harmonium, first the student should be able to at least sit in a position where he or she can play the harmonium.
Absolutely.
So the position, the posture in which the student sits is very important. So just to attain that posture, I think attaining a specific age is very important. But as I said, there is no age for learning. I mean, when you are just a kid, you may be inspired by some song that you listen to, some nursery rhyme. It's first, according to me, an art where you grow as a listener, and that is what is most meaningful for me. So even when you have not attained a certain age where you can sit and actually pursue learning an instrument, even then the process of listening is certainly with you. So when you listen, not just hear, because listening is concentrated hearing. So when you listen and you pay attention to what you are listening to, you automatically grow as a student of music. Even when you've reached a certain age or certain level in music, it's important for you to go on listening and make this listening experience all the more subtle. And when that happens, I feel you always grow as a listener, as a performer, or as a seeker in music. I feel people should certainly thrive to learn and keep that urge of learning constant in them.
So, sir, as a part of your life as a musician, you have also been a guru. Now, strangely in English, we don't have a word for guru. I tried to search, but I thought of trainer, I thought of tutor, I thought of mentor, but nothing matches guru.
Of course, I mean the whole concept of guru, which is celebrated in the Indian ethos or in the Indian context, is something really invaluable, because the master-disciple relationship, I would call it, loosely translated from Guru Shishya Parampara.
Yes.
Because when you are a teacher and student, it's a completely different relationship. But when it becomes a master and disciple, I feel the relationship is close to Guru Shishya Parampara that we are talking about. But still, as you said, it's very hard to interpret the relationship because it has different dimensions to it.
Yes.
And certainly, I mean, translating these expressions are very difficult.
Yes. So, as a guru in your journey, you must have come across a variety of students or disciples, as we would like to call them. So, could you tell about your experiences as a guru while teaching different kinds of students?
In fact, first of all, let me be honest, this is not with humility alone that I am saying this, but I don't consider myself as a guru. And when I'm teaching my students, I become friends with them, which I feel is one of the things which is very important to have a clear understanding of the tradition that we are following. I mean, it's not only a tradition that we celebrate, it's also about sharing, about learning together. So when the teacher and the students are learning together, it's not a one-way thing that I teach them something and they just learn it by heart and then go and perform or do riyaz. It's not like that. The more you teach, the more you learn. It's like that. So it's a relationship which gets developed over the years. There is a responsibility that I shoulder from the things that I have learned from my guru, and the responsibility that they have given me to impart whatever I have learned from the amazing tradition that we have. Apart from that, it's not only what they have learned from their gurus or whoever their mentors were. It's about the way they have evolved, the way they have visualized the process of music making, and the way they have put in their own expressions in the parampara or the tradition. And that is what they have tried to impart to me. And I feel it's a very responsible thing. When I pass the same thing to my students, I should be wholly aware of the whole plethora of compositions or the repertoire. Whatever I could learn from them, I'm certainly trying to do my best to give back to the students that come to me, which I feel was the only thing my Gurujis expected from me. And I feel that itself gives me immense pleasure and satisfaction that I am trying to continue what they lived up to. I'm trying to evolve myself as a teacher too. I'm trying to teach them in different ways. As you said, not every student is capable of grasping the same thing in the same way that I teach others. So every student has his own way of looking at things and understanding them. But it's our responsibility to see to it that he or she comprehends the expression that I try to teach them, and see to it that they are following the same methods that my Gurus have taught me, and at the same time they are trying to look at the matter that has been given to them with a very open-minded perspective, thinking about it, not just taking notes, not just memorizing things, but thinking about it, interpreting it in a different way, which is what creates an identity in every student. And that whole process I feel is very important when you impart training to students.
Correct. So some of these children, kids, disciples who come to you, they may be inherently talented.
Yes.
And they are just born talents.
Yes.
But some of them might not have that level of talent. So can serious effort towards learning music somehow overcome this difficulty?
Certainly. I feel I too was not very talented as such, because I don't belong to a musical family or a family of musicians, hereditary musicians as such. But I went on enjoying the subject. When I was always a seeker, and till now I have tried to maintain that. So I think that is the best part when you teach or learn. You should go on learning it without carrying any baggage that you have, because it's important. If you have preconceived notions when you learn, that hampers that obstructs the whole process of learning. We had not thought of questioning the Guru, which is changing now, and I feel it's for the better. When I'm saying that, yes, there are some things which need to be questioned, but there are some things which you learn, understand, and then question. So these are two completely different things. So when you actually learn, I would suggest not to carry any baggage with you, and just go on imbibing whatever you are learning, but certainly think of what is being generated, what expressions are being created in that learning process. For example, I am teaching my student a bandish, and if you are just trying to gauge the rag structure or the melodic framework or the tal framework, then that only is not the content of the bandish. There are lyrics to it. There is a cultural reference, a context to it. For example, the bandishes in Khayal music follow the Brij Bhasha or the Awadhi Maithili or the dialects of Hindi. which are sometimes very difficult to understand. But if there is an effort, and which I feel is very important in the students and which is not done, when you teach them a bandish, seldom do people question what is the meaning of this and what are the lyrics saying, what is the context. And I feel that is a very important process. So I myself try to understand that. I've got dictionaries, I've got people who I refer to, and then I certainly try to get those the meaning, the context of these expressions, and then I try to impart those expressions to my students. So it's important for the student to be very, very open-minded and think about every aspect that is being taught. It's a holistic process, and that needs to be understood by the students. In today's times, it's all the more important to understand it, because there are very few people who can really tell you those expressions, tell you the meaning of those expressions. But if you don't have that inquisitiveness within you, it's difficult to actually learn those things, which is what can be done through different types of or spaces of learning which we are trying to generate. Like for example, we are also doing workshops or interactive sessions where you can actually question someone. So in fact, I feel talent is something that you recognize when you see someone singing or see that flair in a particular person. But like I said, I don't belong to a musical family as such. It does not mean that you can't learn. Everything is possible if you dedicate yourself to that particular thing. But the first requirement that you need to have is that passion for learning. Many times there are very talented students who don't want to do anything because they are so talented. It so happens that many times they are overexposed because of their talent, and then you see someone else who is pursuing music seriously, going ahead in many ways. And then so actually it's all about the inherent passion for studying any art that you have, which goes in the long run to make you a musician or a passionate student of music. So I feel talent, yes, it's certainly necessary, but you can also develop talent. That is what I believe in.
So you have associated yourself with an instrument, that's harmonium. So generally how people look at musicians is someone who sings, someone who is a vocalist. But for being an instrumentalist, you need to go one step forward and you need to understand instrument and understand music. So is it more difficult to be an instrumentalist and find music within the instrument? And how do you overcome that difficulty, and how do you become one with the instrument and understand music within it?
I feel whether you're a vocalist or an instrumentalist for that matter, the journey does not differ. Because finally, if you talk about the vocal cords, again, it can be treated as an instrument.
Certainly.
So I was very passionate about the harmonium because I could see my Guruji, Pandit Tulsidas Borkar, actually look at the instrument as his life, which is what inspired me to take up the harmonium as my instrument in music. I would say again, not as a career, but as my life again, because these were the people who became synonymous to that instrument, and which is what I think inspired me to take up music as a whole. If you talk about vocal music, yes, if you see the references in the past, there were in the Drupad Damar form of music. So there were Drupadiyas who were trained in the bean. So there were bean cars and there were vocalists. Whenever you are playing an instrument, any instrument, you're also singing through the instrument. The medium is different, but otherwise whatever you do, it's not necessary that you sing the way a vocalist sings in a concert. If you talk about Khayal Gaiki or Drupad Gaiki, it may be very different. But there are elements of instrumental music like which we call the Tantakari, which are also implemented or employed when we perform. Like I can say for my Grand Guru and my Guruji, the style which we play solo harmonium in adopts elements of the Gaiki and elements from the Tantkari style. So it's a combination of the Gaiki, the Tantakari and a lot of other things, because when you say Tantakari it also refers to stringed instruments, but there are a lot of instruments like the flute, the shehnai or any wind instrument, which, because the harmonium being a wind instrument, there are a lot of wind instruments which the harmonium has tried to follow. So it's a combination of a lot of things that an instrumentalist does when he presents solo performance or when he accompanies. Likewise, even the vocalist can sing like an instrument. So there is a lot of give and take between the vocalist and the instrumentalist, and it's just broadly to distinguish, yes, because you are playing an instrument and you are not singing, you can say that you are an instrumentalist, and because you are singing you are a vocalist. But I feel there are elements which are common in both the styles of presenting your music. So it does not matter whether you are an instrumentalist or a vocalist. The only thing is the power of expression in the person needs to be all the more when you are playing an instrument, because it's important for the instrumentalist to express a lot of things which can be supported by the lyrical content in a vocal recital. So when an instrumentalist is expressing his music, you don't have the support of these lyrics. At the same time, if you sing a composition keeping the lyrics in mind, many times you are able to transpose or translate the meaning of the lyrics that you are playing to the audiences. More so when you are playing a bandish or a composition which is known to the audiences, but even when they don't know it, you can certainly try to actually present those expressions or feelings to the audiences the way the vocalist does. So talking about the harmonium, I mean, you may be knowing that there have been a lot of controversies around the instrument. It was banned on All India Radio, and there are a lot of stories or anecdotes around revolving around the instrument.
Yes.
But still, I feel it has gained acceptance in almost all the genres that are performed now, except Drupad Dhamar or some of the genres which were existent earlier to the harmonium. Also, if you talk about the training of a particular student, I feel the harmonium has contributed to it a lot. It has contributed in evolving audiences, because a person learning the harmonium may not actually be a performer, but nevertheless there are so many people who have tried to learn the harmonium, and the visual structure, the representation that you get in the harmonium allows you to actually see whether the notes are going higher or lower, and it won't differ from any amateur to a professional. Widely saying, in fact, of course, when you look at the subtle level, yes, certainly there are a lot of expressions which need to be expressed in a very, very intricate manner. But at the basic level, yes, what the note that is produced when I press a particular key is not different when an amateur presses it or when a serious musician or a performer plays it. Which is why, the visual structure of the harmonium has certainly led to the development of Indian music in terms of initiating audiences, in terms of many people learning it and understanding music at the basic level. Of course, at the level where you need to learn more, you need to evolve as a performer, you need to learn complex things, you need to learn the semitones, the shrutis, then there are a lot of challenges involved which I feel cannot be articulated in the harmonium. But if you talk about basic students, yes, many of them have found the harmonium to be their friend in pursuing this journey of music.
Absolutely. So, from the perspective of a beginner, I'm just starting to learn, and harmonium is a big instrument. So, a lot of times the question that comes up in people's mind, which is a very awkward and inconvenient question to be honest, how much should I spend on my first harmonium? Should it be a very advanced and very complex and very expensive, high quality harmonium, or can I come chalao with a smaller and less expensive harmonium? So how would you treat that? How would you deal with that deadlock in a beginner's mind?
It's a very difficult question because yes, everyone who wants to pursue music certainly needs to buy an instrument. But many times what happens is they're not sure whether they'll be able to continue the training part of it, which is why it's quite confusing for them. But I feel not only for harmonium but any instrument that you wish to pursue, the quality of the instrument should be good. Because unless you get a good tonal quality in the harmonium, you won't be able to enjoy the learning process.
Absolutely.
The tonal quality is what matters the most. And if you're able to invest a little more than what you thought of and get someone to suggest you, there are so many people, there are so many artists who can help you, guide you, get good instruments. It's important for the students to approach such persons to get good instruments. If you get good instruments are you going to enjoy the learning process. Which is why I feel that's a very important thing, that you look for good instruments. Yes, nowadays people are going online and seeing whether there are old harmoniums available on the net, which is also a good thing. You have to learn and exercise all these things to get good instruments. And I feel getting good instruments is a matter of pride for every musician.
Absolutely.
So like this harmonium that you see, this one I have got only today.
Wow.
So this is Bhagat harmonium. It's manufactured by H.B. Bhagat, one of the most revered craftsmen in the field of harmonium. So my Guruji used to talk a lot about Bhagat, and I've got 2 Bhagat harmoniums with me, but this is the 3rd one that I have and really admire. I really love my possessions, and this is something that I really celebrate, I respect. And unless every student of music learns to respect and treat his instruments in a very, very careful and dignified manner, he won't be able to develop that relationship with the instrument.
Sir, as you understand, you are also an organizer and you've recently started a new project which we would like you only to tell about.
As a student of music, I did not restrict myself to listening to one particular genre of music. I can say that Hindustani rag music is like my mother tongue. So I have grown learning ragdari music. But at the same time, there are so many other forms, allied forms like Thumri Dadra or Ghazal or Bhavgeet or Bhajan, Abhang. So many other forms related to the same genre which we tried to learn in the process. While doing this, I personally also wanted to listen to different forms of music and also look at different forms of art. And my gurus always used to say this: if you want to explore the world of music, you need to explore the world of expressing yourself, and that would be possible only if you look at different art forms, not only one particular art form or one particular form of music. I didn't understand what they meant until I actually met a few people and we thought of starting this project called Kala Coast. Kala Coast is a global music and arts village which is coming up in coastal Karnataka, which is like my native place. But I, being born and brought up in Maharashtra and Mumbai especially, many of the activities and events are taking place in Mumbai. But we are gradually spreading to other cities like Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and of course this Kala Coast music village, music and arts village, is close to Udupi, where we regularly have festivals and workshops. But Mumbai is also one place where we have our annual festival. This has started in 2015. We had our first festival in Karje, which is the global music and arts village that we are developing, and consequently we had our festivals in Mumbai, all our festivals. In fact, we have had our Kala Coast Music Festival 2020 just recently, 16th of February. Basically, Kala Coast talks about celebrating the diversity of arts. While we talk about diversity of artistic traditions and forms, yes, we need to collaborate all these diverse forms also, which is why the spirit of collaboration is also one of the objectives that Kala Coast has. Apart from that, empowering the artist in every way, because talking about artist's rights, his position in society, the way society looks at art and artists is something to be really thought about and discussed, which is not happening. And there are so many artists involved, and there are folk musicians, there are tribal musicians, there are contemporary artists, and all those people need to get together to collaborate, discuss art, exchange their skills, which is what we intend to do through Kala Coast. So we have one particular forum called Impact, which is short for Interactive Music and Performing Arts Concepts and Themes. We try to get in celebrities or people who have mastered their particular art form to come and interact with the audiences, with students, with admirers of that particular art form, or people who are totally alien to that particular art form. We want them to speak to them. They have their own questions which they ask to the particular maestro, and it's not necessarily a celebrity who we call. We may call a particular student of music who has thought differently or is pursuing that particular art form, giving it a different shape or dimension. We may call such students also to interact with the audiences. We have lay audiences too who join us in these sessions, and they feel that they have to attend each and every session of Impact series, and that is gaining popularity. Other than that, we have listening sessions wherein we have necessarily many of the students involved. We want them to talk about their journey in music or that particular genre of music that they are following. So there are diverse topics which we deal with even when we are doing guided listening sessions. So these are some of the activities that we do through Kala Coast. So what we are trying to do is also conduct workshops or interactive sessions or lecture demonstrations through different schools, colleges or educational institutions, so that they integrate the learning process of arts, whether it's in the mainstream education or otherwise, just to give the students a sense of the traditions and arts that are parallelly existing in India and otherwise all over the globe. And I feel this particular process is enlightening a lot of students. It's reaching out to a lot of people, and we have been getting a very good feedback on these workshops or interactive sessions. And we try to help these educational institutions realize what they call as holistic education.
I recommend all the viewers of musical to explore about Kalakost. I will put all the links, all the relevant links in description, so please go explore what Kalakost is. I'm sure you will be interested and then start attending. Okay, I'm sure you must have watched the previous episodes where we have got listeners and how they enjoy the process of listening. So even if you are not learning yourself, you can of course absorb the music through listening. Thank you so much, Sudhir Dada, once again for joining Musical and sharing your insights with us, which are definitely going to help the viewers of Musical in developing themselves as listeners, as learners, as students of music, and as human beings.
I hope so. I hope so. Thank you so much, Kalyani, for getting this to us, and I hope Kalakost or even me on an individual level can do the best to contribute to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.